Take me away from home. Show me all the places I've never known. And we'll chase the night, race all of these broken dreams in flight. And we'll fly. We'll fly away, away, away. Yeah, we'll fly. I will fly.
Obviously, for us, we are not flying since the 22nd of March, so it means we are not earning any revenues at all. We still have some costs that we have to meet, and principally they fall into two categories. First one is to preserve the assets that we have, which is the aircraft. There is what we call preservation maintenance. On the aircraft, when they are packed, we have to continue to maintain them. We have to run them so that the systems are okay. Otherwise, then, if you don't do that, first of all, you won't be following the regulations, and secondly, it will be very difficult for an airline to restart those aircraft. They would have problems. So there is that work and costs that we are incurring on that. Secondly, we have to secure our staff and make sure they are also secured in terms of their payments. We have obligations to them vis-a-vis their contracts. And secondly, there are training issues that we have to look at in between to make sure that, again, when we start, they will be ready to fly and comply with regulations. So we work with regulators, which is Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, to make sure that the licensing systems, the currency of the licenses, they have issues. We have programs which will make sure that they protect us against a prolonged grounding at the time then when the skies are open. We are also looking at service providers across the entire network. What has happened is that everyone, not only airlines, so you have ground handling companies, you have people who do catering, you have people who provide other airport services, whether it be business class lounges, all of those who work at the airports. Similarly, there is no activity at the moment. So some of them may have run into cash flow difficulties. You have seen airlines having difficulties of cash flow. So we are not sure who will be there by the time the skies will be open. So again, those are the activities that we are looking at on the contracting side. I've explained before the genesis of Uganda Airlines, why it was set up, which is really to support the economy of this country, to make it easy for people to do business, to open the country up to tourism, to provide jobs, and to provide connectivity. Even from a security perspective, as a landlocked country, it still makes sense for this airline to be there to move people and goods across the industry. So that commitment in terms of the long-term impact to this country still remains. For us, as an airline specifically, we had promised to provide a company that would serve them well in terms of timetables and scheduling out of here at an international standard that unparalleled. And the product we are offering was one of the best in the industry by the time we are stopping to fly on the 22nd of March. And people have tasted it now. They know what we are about in terms of offering. And I think largely the population has been happy with what the airline has been doing. So we'll continue. What we can assure them is we will do everything possible to protect them when the skies are opened. We are working very hard internally to get the procedures right. And above all, we are also upgrading our systems during this period so that we can offer them a distribution network as well as structured systems which will make it easy for them to reach the airline, purchase tickets from us, communicate their issues, ask their questions, which we are ready to clarify as we start to fly again. And had an answer to that one, I think they would be probably the best placed people in the world. What is really certain is that, first of all, the opening of the skies will be gradual. Different countries obviously have been impacted differently in terms of the threat of this disease to the entire population. And international travel has the associated risk of reinfection. So because of that, many countries will be very cautious about the timing of the opening up of the skies. So that is a given. That's one risk that we can see. The second one is really the individual customers. After the skies are open, how many people will be willing to travel? Again, it's a number that cannot be predicted, because what we have seen has never happened in our lifetime. It really happened centuries ago, and we are in new territory now, and we don't know what passenger behavior is going to be. What we can assure, in fact, what will make the industry to survive, because the industry is needed, is the assurance we can give to the public regarding the preparedness that as an industry we have to protect them against the contracting the disease, to make sure that even in these times, the journey from point A to point B is still comfortable for them, and it is seamless, and they can feel safe and secure. If we can achieve all of those, then you will see the industry bouncing back as it has done in other crises before. But if we struggle to get the standard operation procedures understood and communicated to everyone, including our customers, suppliers, our travel partners, then indeed the future can take quite a long time in terms of recovery. What we are confident as an airline is the fact that internally we have understood what is required in terms of protecting the public and the passengers. It is necessarily not going to be cheap in terms of the industry, because several expenses have come up in the industry. So the whole travel chain will have to be reassessed from a cost point of view and a revenue point of view as well. So those are the elements that we are discussing right now, and I believe with dedication and commitment we'll get it right. Right now, as you know, from all over the world, the airports have been closed as a result of the fight against the COVID-19 disease. We are trying to obviously protect everyone in the country by not operating international flights. This country has decided to have that lockdown, like many other countries have done in the world. So this is not a good time for many sectors, including airlines, airports operations, and everything related to aviation. Globally, I think in Africa, almost 90% of the capacity has been removed from the system. And it has impacted both passenger and cargo traffic. You know, in Africa, we don't have many dedicated cargo companies or airlines. So most of the cargo used to go in the belly of the passenger aircraft. And that is the one that ultimately took most of the exports to either Europe, Middle East, and everywhere else around the world. So there is a shortage of cargo capacity at the moment. And that's why you have seen that one of the key features that has happened in recent years is that there are companies that have come up specifically to provide kits which allow you to transport cargo on the seats of the aircraft. So they're called seat packs. So we already had looked at that structure, which required those to be certified with our civil aviation authorities. And the intention had always been that we have seat packs not only for our regional aircraft, but also for the A330s that are coming. The issue that we are looking at now, the demand for cargo that is there, is cargo that requires long-haul operations, which our aircraft cannot reach in terms of range and payload. They are looking for big capacity aircraft, which is why you see the 777s, you see the A330s or A350s being configured, because they require 120, 150,000 tons each way to collect the medical equipment. That's what makes it very cost effective. And secondly, it's mainly out of China into Europe, into America, and some of it into Africa. So right now, even though we have those plans to employ the same methods to transport cargo, the business is just not there for us because of the capacity, which is small, dated. We have the entire industry, not only in Africa, but across the world, is going to have to restructure and find its position again in the entire transportation system. Airlines are generally low margin industries, and they rely on cash generation to stay afloat. They don't have loads of cash because the assets that they deploy are very expensive. So that's why we have seen even large airlines outside the continent start to restructure and to lay off some employees and to look at that. The important thing right now for all airlines, including Uganda Airlines, is to preserve its liquidity or cash resources. Fortunately for us, we are in the startup phase where we are still being capitalized by the shareholders, and we're starting to open routes. Basically, we still have that capital which will allow us to restart. What has happened now across the industry is that all airlines will essentially be starting again. So we are basically in the same position. So everyone, including our neighbors in this, will be startups, airlines is it now, looking at a new changed future, which gives us probably one of the best chances to define Uganda Airlines as this new aviation horizon.